Is it officially the end of an era for Man City with the confirmation that the director of football is officially stepping down at the end of the season? All the question marks are now surrounding Pep and his future. Jamie, how are you feeling right now? I assume director of football is less of an issue. Is this the end of the era, the Pep era? Are we getting close?
It probably is the end of the start of the end of the sort of Man City era that we've had for a few years at least, sort of the past sort of 7 or 8 years while Pep's been in charge. Obviously, Txiki's been in charge for 13 years, it'll be, by the time he actually ends. So it is kind of an end of an era. But just for all the fans who probably are celebrating, doesn't mean we're not going to stop. We're going to stop winning things, because I do believe it's just something that happens. You know, it just happens. Like, it doesn't mean we're going to stop winning things, but we can continue to win things just under a different director of football, possibly manager, which will eventually come. But it's just a change of it, and Chelsea have probably seen it as well. The change from, say, when Mourinho was in charge to whoever went in next. There's different eras you have as a fan, and this is just one of them. And it's been a great ride, but it probably is the start of the end for an era.
Yeah, well, Reece, particularly more so, I mean, everyone in England kind of been low-key praying, I think, Pep leaves for a bit more competition, perhaps. But from an Arsenal perspective, a lot of Arsenal fans have said, look, when Pep goes, this is the time for us to step up. From an Arsenal perspective, how are you feeling about this? Is the director of football going to be the first domino that ultimately ends Pep's reign?
It's a good question. I think yeah, him stepping down is sometimes an indicator that there's going to be change. But yeah, let's not forget he was already in place before Pep had come in. And he was due to leave a couple of years ago, I think, but then stayed on. So they've gone for a restructure, and yeah, that probably does impact Pep. You know, when a manager says how much they love a club and then just don't necessarily commit to a future, then love a club again, and then don't, you know, they sort of don't give that straight answer. You kind of indicate that, you know, the sun is setting. Whether it's at the end of the season or the season after, we don't know. I think the fact that he's completed his treble with Man City, you know, managed to get a Champions League back after Barcelona, probably implies that he may feel he's done all he can. He's got the 4 in a row. He's got the treble, the 100 points. He's achieved everything, you know, and the only thing he hasn't achieved is probably an unbeaten season, which is possible to do this season. If he does that, what more can he do? So yeah, I think it's too easy to say, yeah, he might be going at the end of the summer, but I think a lot of City fans are potentially resigned to the fact that he is. But I wouldn't be shocked if he stayed another year.
I think with the whole Pep leaving, City fans are, I think we're hopeful that he's going to stay one more year. So I think it would be 10 years that he'd be in charge. So I think that's what we're all hoping for. But that's more of a fan sort of trying to put a statistical number of going, a decade, that would be nice to finish on. Give us another year. And then next year we'll be like, come on, give us another year kind of thing. That's all we're hoping for in that aspect.
Is he going to be, it's a question for both of you, is he going to do what Klopp did and announce it halfway through the season? Or do you think he's going to wait right till the very end, likely lifting the Premier League trophy to say that's it now?
City will know, I think, by about January. That's my sort of guess. It's being reported that City are like, Pep, we need to know before the end of the season, so we can plan, really. We can work out who's going to be in charge after, because if you give us, say, January is the time he announces it, or the time that City find out, we can announce it in February, March, whenever. It's going to be sort of, it gives them time to go, right, do we want this manager, that manager, and have kind of, you know, a possible interview process as such. It may not be exactly like a normal job interview that we would have, but there definitely could be something.
Yeah, I think ultimately there's no way he'd decide after the end of the season, in my opinion. I agree with that. To be honest, in my head initially, the way Pep is, I can see him winning something and then afterwards going, that's me done. However, the way Klopp did it and the way Slot, as we said, last week, the way Slot has started, so far, it's hard to argue that there's been really any fault in that transition. So maybe, I don't know, maybe City won't see it that way, but I would argue that how it started for Liverpool, it seemed to be a fairly smooth transition. There's not been any major hiccups. Maybe that is simply the way to do it and keep players motivated.
I know we've kind of moved on to Pep, but if we go back to sort of Txiki and the sort of, director of football, we have also got our replacement sorted. And we've got the Sporting Lisbon or Sporting CP, however they want to sort of say it, in Hugo Viana. Now, I'm not going to be an expert on directors of football and know exactly what he's like, but Sporting Lisbon have done quite well over the years. They're sort of, they are, in my opinion, the smaller club out of the top three out there, and still managed to win some decent trophies and have got some very good players under the wing. So it's sort of like people will be hopeful on the internet and go, oh, he's a great signing for City and the director of football. Realistically, we don't know as football fans, but it does show that City wants a plan in place for it. So I think City will do the exact same. Tiki's announced now, end of the season. If Pep is, we want to know before the end of the season, and then we can start making plans in place. Because Slot's a good example with after Klopp. Got to have a plan in place, really. Otherwise, it's pointless. It's just too risky.
It's so hard. Let's say Pep announces it in Jan, he's leaving, and then you don't win anything. Yes, statistically that's unlikely, but
no. It's definitely it's definitely possible. I know City have won stuff for so many years in a row now. It's not a God-given right that we're going to win something. But if Pep leaves and we don't win anything, City fans are just going to be like, thank you for absolutely every other trophy you've won us.
Yeah, I suppose.
He's won enough to not be just disappointed for winning nothing. So that's kind of how I'd see it.
And I guess finally, if Pep, again, I appreciate we're talking about director of football, we're kind of assuming that Pep's going to leave, or might be a bit premature, but if Pep does go, what do we actually see happening? Because again, maybe Liverpool's a bad example already, but they've not really dropped off the pace. Do we? Let's say, for example, Pep leaves at the end of the season, City win the league again, Arsenal are fairly close, Liverpool close. Would we say City are favourites the next season if Pep leaves? Because I actually do think that's an interesting argument.
I would say yes, because you look at the players. Sort of, it's always a funny thing to see if you look on Twitter and stuff. It's when Pep does, and City are doing well. And you talk about Pep, you go, oh, he's got all these brilliant players, blah blah blah. He's got luxury there. Then when they go on international breaks, some players don't play well. Oh, they're system players that are only good under Pep. It's kind of like a circle that goes round every time. I see it so much. I think at the start of the season, no matter who's the manager, unless we do hire someone absolutely who's clearly useless, we will be favourites, bookies' favourites anyway. But it doesn't mean it's going to plan out like that, because we may ever change a style. I don't think it's guaranteed that we're going to be, but I think we would be bookies' favourites.
Yeah, you should do, depending on the business you do in the summer as well. I think there are two managerial candidates, I think, that look the obvious bets. The first one being Girona's manager, Michel. I think that would be pretty stupid. But he's part of the City group, so you bring in someone who follows that style, that formula, then yeah, I get it. But of course, there's also Ruben Amorim at Sporting, who might follow the director of football with him. This guy looks like he's going to win his second league in a row with Sporting if they carry on the way they are. And he's already won 2 leagues with them as it is, and a few cups in a short space of time. If this guy can coach those players, but coach players where he doesn't have to lose them, they've got something there. Bit concerned that he never got, Liverpool never went for him in the end, and the West Ham thing didn't work out. But them two look like the serious managerial candidates.
Well, Company's another one as well. Ex-City, got the old thumbs up from Pep. Maybe that would help. If, again, a lot of assumptions in this, but let's say he goes and wins the league with Bayern, does something in the Champions League. he could be an option as well.
Yeah. To be honest, I've not really thought about who replaced him because I'm still hopeful he stays on another year. So that's kind of, I've not really thought about that. Company's definitely one that would be in the conversation, but when you sign for Bayern, you don't just jump off and leave if he's done well, kind of thing. So that'd be another one. Xavi Alonso, if he's still doing well for Leverkusen. I know it's not really like the tie-in with City, but there's still a possibility because City's now a top job. So it's sort of difficult to say no to that job. So they're the ones who I'd possibly put names in, but like I said, I'm still hoping that Pep's going to sign at least another year deal, and I'll be saying the same next year if he does.
All right, well, we might have to save the Pep chat, the Pep replacement chat for another episode. That is all we got time for this pod. As we said already, we got 2 more episodes coming out this week in this new quick fire format. But as always, make sure you like the video, make sure you comment and subscribe. You know the drill.